Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 16th Harrison District 2 Board of Education business meeting. I'm the chairman, Steve Siebert. Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll.
Sure. Jeannie Orozco, present. Kelly Pomas.
Present.
Linda Pugh.
Present.
Steve Siebert.
Here.
Keith Varney.
Present.
Julie Loesch.
Here.
Naisha Major is excused.
Fantastic. For members of the public who desire to address the board on any topic related to board work, if you would sign the roster in the back of the room before 6:30 p.m., we would afford you an opportunity to address the board. And we have Stratmore Hills here to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance and our mission statement.
Yay.
So if you guys would come up and lead us in the pledge, that would be fantastic.
I keep.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, that's right. The bumblebees. I should have that.
Graduate college and career ready students with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors to personally succeed and contribute to the common good.
Right on.
Thank you.
It's picture time.
It's for you if you want to take a
It's always a
picture.
little awkward sitting there because then you're like,
I could do bunny ears on Steve. That would be
I've never thought to do that.
Did I say that? Deja?
Oh my God.
Aspen McLean? Talia Thompson? Shannon Walker? I have a couple more. Mason Hernandez? He didn't make it. Would you? Angelo? He didn't make it. That's okay. Jamira Roberts? Jamari? And Camara Jones. All right, guys, if you come right up here, squish in real tight. I want to get a picture with you.
Yeah, you're right. It's gonna work.
It's
Okay.
so awkward. What did he say?
Thank you, guys. That's always the most fun part of the evening for me. I love having the kids up here. It's the reason that we are all here. Has everyone had a chance to review this evening's agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? We have some corrections, or a correction at least.
Do you want a motion to correct it, or?
No, we can just state that it is and then adopt the amended.
Okay, we're going to amend the agenda and remove item 9, which talks about the fund balance. There'll be further discussion at the June work session on that particular item.
There's some, as a policy board, we don't govern by decision, we govern by policy. And as a policy change, has to be drafted and voted on. And that's not something that we're prepared to do on that item, so that's why we're removing it. With that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Pugh, moved by Mrs. Pomas, seconded by Mrs. Pugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And once again, we have the administration team from Strathmore Hills Elementary. Good evening. Thank you guys for being here. And I say guys, thank you guys for being here.
So, good evening, board members and our two chief operation officers, colleagues and visitors, friends. We want to tell you a little bit about our school, Strathmore Hills Elementary. We have our mission, vision, and our focus area, which is our SHEs down there at the bottom. Stick to the schedule, have a plan, embrace BIST, and show ownership. We'll talk about what BIST is a little later. And a little bit about our mission. We knew that it was kind of time to move on and transition a little bit. So our BLT committee, we had a little retreat off campus, and we came up with some priorities that we felt that the school identified that we represent or should represent. And so the mission statement was developed inclusive of everyone, our ESP, everyone. And so we feel that our mission at Strathmore Hills is to build a positive, respectful community which supports the well-being of all individuals and results in growth and achievement for the whole child. And our vision is just believe it, achieve it. I did it, I'm sorry. I'm good at just for time. Our community is made up of K-5 classrooms. We have 2 classes per grade level. We have center-based, 2 SSN, 1 TAP, mod needs. We have specials teachers, CLDE, an instructional coach, which is the Teach Forward this year, special education professionals, and our instructional para. At the time, we have 211 students. We are just a neighborhood school. The only children that we do bus are our SPED students. We are 87% free and reduced, and we have a nice blend over at Strathmore Hills. We're kind of almost a third, and a third, but you can see our ethnicity. Our SPED, we're at 13%, and we broke that down. And CLDE has really been reduced. We're only at 8% for our English language learners. Here is just some fun facts. You can see how many teachers we have. And this is just teachers for our bar graph. So if you look, we have not had that many new teachers in years. So last year began a transition of teachers moving on, retiring, or so on. But if you look from 3 to 11 years, we have quite a few who have been there. And a fun fact is 8 students at our school are staff member students, and 15 of our staff members live in Harrison School District 2, including myself. So we are literally, we are Harrison at Strathmore Hills. And we do have 2
staff members that are 20-plus years.
And I don't know if Mrs. Pike came tonight, but so here is our school performance framework, and what we want to highlight is that although we definitely are met accreditation, we are approaching, and our students with disabilities is an area that we really, really need to focus on, and that has been our focus this year. So we called over, and Scott Weldon broke down the data for us even more. And fortunately, but unfortunately for for status, you need at least 16 students, and we had exactly 16 students. So what Scott shared with us, what we did, we definitely grew our students, but our school performance framework it didn't reflect that because you need 20 students, and we didn't have 20 students. We only had the exact amount to show our exact status. And so for SPED, we need to meet a 725. And if you see our scores, we're close, but not close enough. So we focus on and that would be our mod needs population as well as our center base. We need to work on getting those scores up. Here is our academic growth, and again, if you notice our students with disabilities, we still need to work on. The blue just shows that we had some phenomenal growth in math, but again, we really do need to work on the students with disabilities, and they are definitely inclusive in our plans this year. This is our CMAS achievement, and you can see that dip there. With ELA. And here is our growth, and we took another dip. Those two arrows represent Strathmore Hills. Here in third grade, we did some deep dives and realized what was going on there. We're proud of having some of the highest growth in math, but again, that doesn't make us comfortable. We still have work to do there as well. We attribute that to one of the things we did last year is formulated small group instruction just like reading. So we do whole group instruction and we flood in and we reteach those skills, same skills that we were learning in that whole group. So we were giving students some more direct instruction in math, and it really paid off for us. And our mobility rate, if you look in 16-17, what this chart is showing us that 105, the number of students entering after 2 weeks, and we lost 55. 17-18, 74, and 39 moved, and this particular school year, 70, with 55 moving.
So for our access scores, this is last year because when we were creating that, we didn't have this year, but we've been really proud of our ELL students. They have traditionally performed very high in the district and had very high growth. We mentioned as part of our focus for this year, BIST has been one of our focus, and we are really excited about this data. It's our social emotional program that we use in our school, and it is centered on relationships. And 3 years ago, our survey data showed that the highest percentage of staff that disagreed or strongly disagreed was with the statement that they don't believe that discipline is enforced fairly, and that was at 54%. So given that survey data, we went and researched some of the programs out there that might help support our teachers and our students with their behaviors. And so we started that implementation last year, the 17-18 school year. And if you'll see, it didn't really change as far as the survey data goes at 53%. However, the survey is given in November, and we started implementing this in July of that year. So there were some growing pains along the way. The program is designed around teaching the 3 skills for life, which are I can do the right thing even if I'm mad or upset, I can do something even if it's hard or I don't want to, and I can be okay even if others are not okay. And the idea is that we can teach our students to stand in line and behave nicely during that time, but that may help them at DMV, that might help them at the grocery store, but we really need some skills that are going to transfer for life. And so I might be really upset at the DMV that's going to take 2 hours, but I need to handle my emotions even though I'm upset. So the other great thing that we like about this, I don't know how to go backwards now, but is that grace and accountability piece. Sorry.
It's all good.
The grace and accountability piece. So Pam and I found that we were building a lot of the relationships with students that were getting sent out of the classroom. And the teachers then were getting the students back after we were able to calm them down and get them ready to come back to class. And they weren't really creating those bonds with the students that they needed to do. So then this year's data shows 22% of our staff disagree or strongly disagree with the statement of, I don't believe that discipline is fairly enforced, because everybody is part of that process. Another great data point that we have from the implementation of this is that we went from 59 referral, this is our referral data, so all discipline data, it could be an in-school suspension, an out-of-school suspension, what have you. And so we had 59 events in 16-17. We had 60 events last year, and this year we've had 29. So we're pretty excited about that data.
And these referrals range, as Cassie said, some are just, just either it was a referral for bullying or something that did not actually need to be, at a more, I hate to say, like suspension, but we took all referrals because we want to acknowledge all of them and try to do some corrective measures.
So another part of our school is a number of partnerships that we have with various people throughout the community. We have JA in a Day. We have a partnership with Aspen Point, Care and Share, Westside Cares, Office Depot, El Paso County Sheriff's Department, Strathmore Hills Fire Department, Manna Church, El Paso County Health Department, Neighborhood Association for Strathmore Hills, Broadmoor Rotary, the Delta Sigma Sorority, and the UCCS for their student teachers. And we have a ton of pictures to share with you guys and just some highlights. So the sorority comes in and reads with our students, and they came in and helped sponsor a party as well.
She's pictured in there.
This one is the El Paso County Department of Health has somewhat adopted us for 2 years. Mm-hmm. They bring in all sorts of resources. We have a night where we bring we bring all of those resources into our school, and we just have a parent night, and we feed them. And so this was this year's night. We have the YMCA come in and represent. We have the Sheriff's Department. One of our partners is Aspen Point. They come in thanks to Mike Russ recommending our school, and so they come in and they also offer counseling services during the day so the children do not have to be checked out of school to go. Parents come in, do the intake right there at school, very confidential behind closed doors. It's just that the location is very convenient for our parents.
We're also fortunate enough that Office Depot has been adopting us for years. They have brought supplies to us over the years for our students. This year, they actually had bins at the Office Depot at the beginning of the school year for our school in particular. And so they brought in boxes and boxes and boxes of supplies for our teachers and for our students at the beginning of the year, which was really exciting. The Kiwanis Club also has adopted us over several years. They've donated some of the instruments for our band, which some of our students that presented the mission statement today were our band students. We are one of the only elementary schools in the district, the only elementary school in the district with a band, and so we're quite proud of that. And Kiwanis has also donated children's books. We also have a partnership with CPCD. They have students in our school, and so we come in here, they're with our music class right here, and we just let them use our library, let them be part of our community, and let the kids kind of know what it's going to be like once they get to us. Another partnership that we're really excited about is Manna Church, and they adopted us, I think, towards the end of the year last year, and they have done amazing things for us, from coming in and just wiping down our desks and our chairs on Saturday because we've got colds going through the building, or planting flowers in the front of our building. Our last teacher work day, they made an awesome spread for our teachers for lunch. I think it's the only time in the whole year that we've sat down as a staff and eaten together and just chatted, so that was awesome. And then they've also been painting. They painted our library, they painted our hallway, and they're very professional. They're very meticulous about the way that they do it, and we're very thankful to have them part of our community.
And so this is a picture of this year's UCCS. Teachers, student teachers, we're really proud and fortunate to be a part of that cohort of student teachers. We've been doing it probably for about 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm.
And one of them's staying with us for next year.
So that's great. Here are some things that we're doing during the day, staying focused still on standards and all of the expectations, academic expectations, but we've brought in a few of these, I guess you would say businesses, or the bully-proofing assemblies and so on. And here is a picture of the cadets coming in with the science experiments. And formerly the, what were they called? The Sky Sox, but Rocky Mountain Vibes is what they're called now. But the kids have such a really fun time reading and meeting those goals and getting the free certificates. Career Day is always a great day. Fort Carson comes out. We have everything from sheriffs to, this is the utilities plants, the robotics from off of Fort Carson. We had the medical teams coming out, to even hairdressers. We just want kids to know, just to have these examples of being college and career ready. And here are some fun after schools activities. We have intramurals. We were able to do First Tee. They went down to Valley High, and we really got great raves at our students going down to play golf. One of our teachers, Mrs. Probasco, she introduced us to rugby this year. The kids wanted to play football, but they learned early on that, there's just some different rules there. Volleyball, she introduced lacrosse, and actually some of Cassie's sons came over from Cheyenne Mountain and helped. At first, they were not too keen on those sticks, but we've got some really great athletes now. And again, band, Battle of the Books, Odyssey of the Minds, and that the little ones were part of Odyssey of the Minds. And so we also partnership with Kids on Bikes. That's going on actually right now. They're meeting their goals. And
for those of you who don't know, they get a free bike at the end of Kids on Bike, learning about safety and all of that.
And here, the little ones that did the Pledge of Allegiance, this year was our first year to be in the competition for Odyssey of the Minds, and they went up to Castle Rock. Our primary team down here at the bottom, they came in first place. So we're really excited about that. In our intermediate came in third. So it's really a great program, creativity, problem solving, teamwork, and the kids really have to do a lot of that thinking and solving those problems on their own. They were museum curators. I think they worked in the museum. That's what our little ones were this year. So we're real proud of them.
Private school.
Yes, I actually asked, what private school are you from? So that was, we have Strathmore Idol. We've got lots of talent going on there. So, and here are some of our pictures from intramurals. And so here's just, we just try to, we educate the whole child, but we also try to make sure our staff is okay as well. And so staff appreciation, health and wellness, random acts of appreciation, and we just try to make sure we take care of staff too. Happy teachers, happy kids.
We won our health and wellness. Actually, we won third place for a state award for our health and wellness for last year at the state level. So we are excited about that. And then one of our teachers was News 5 teacher first this year. So just trying to appreciate everything that they do. And that's us.
Well, many of you know Strathmore Hills Elementary is near and dear to my heart. It's my neighborhood, so just up the hill there from the school. For 27 years now, it's been a long time. So I guess maybe it's easier to connect with something that's a little bit closer. But not to make excuses, the transient population, you have 211 kids and 150 and 71 and 70 in 3 consecutive years of turnover. It is tough. It just, we realize that's just a difficult situation. It's no excuse not to take everyone and grow them, but there is that element of understanding. Something that Linda bent over and like nudged me about that we talk about all the time that is super impressive is the amount of staff that resides in the district. That's awesome. Not that they have to or that we expect, and those of you that don't, it's not any reflection on, but it really is. When you're part of the neighborhood, you shop in the schools, you live in the neighborhoods, you see, I see Guyberson t-shirts right here. I had a Guyberson t-shirt on about a month ago, and I was in King Soopers, and I got approached. Do you work at? Well, no, not exactly, but let me tell you. And then I got an earful. It was not bad. It was just, but it's those kind of interactions that you miss when you're not part of a small community. And I know that there are pockets of that around. So I just felt like I needed to mention that. One of the things that I saw that I kind of missed out on, and it's probably a little shame on me for not maybe following the newsletters quite close enough, but there's some events that happened down there with the Manna Church and some things that went on that I would have been very happy to have known about, to been able to maybe stop by and give some personal thank yous to a few of them. So if there are things that are happening when you're presenting the bikes, when you have a big paint presentation, you have community come in, we may not be able to make all of them, or some of them, but we really appreciate being able to know about those events. So if you would just pass those along, I would really like to see those, maybe have a chance to participate. So with that, I took lead. Usually I open the floor to my fellow board, but
You were excited.
I took everything. I was excited. I drive by every day, so it is exciting to me. So now I would open the floor to the rest of my board members for comments, questions.
I'll just add on to what Steve said about events. Those are great ways for us to get into the buildings and not bug you guys so much. You know, it's not in the middle of the day when you're trying to help students. So, yeah, it's a real good opportunity for us to get around and just and be there and chat with you guys. Yeah, thank you.
So, are you going? Go ahead. Oh, I thought I was. Sorry. So my son actually went to CPCD at Stratmore Hills and lived in the little trailer for a couple of years. But I really wanted to just highlight your innovation and really thinking about the whole child. And I think it was Wendy recently that said, school's not fun anymore. And we took all the fun out of it, and just how fun and learning go together. And you can really see that through your slide. Yes, there wasn't all the music and the hype, but you could really see your students enjoying themselves while learning, and putting those two pieces together for life skills, I think is extraordinary. And I really appreciate all the effort that goes into that, because it's really easy to say, well, it's hard to do those other things, because it is, but we really appreciate your effort, and I'm sure your students and families do as well.
I'd forgotten my grandson went to CPCD there as well. And my daughter worked there for a while. I appreciated the incorporation in your presentation. We're trying as a board to look more at results policies around the social and emotional aspect of growing our children. And I appreciate the sharing that you have with that. I hope that every building is doing some level of that, and maybe district-wide we need some kind of a more common approach, but it's extraordinarily important, so thank you for that.
And I'll just make one final comment. Going back to the mission, I think in the quote that you have, happy teachers, happy kids, and that just really resonates. And the inclusivity of your mission is very, very powerful. And so I just want to commend you all for thinking about the community, as it really does impact how our students learn and achieve. So thank you, and thank you for all that you're doing.
And I don't know if I introduced our music teacher. She worked so hard to get things going and introduce the musicians.
Can you do it again? Say it again.
Sorry about that, Kristen. But she works just as hard as Mrs. Probasco, just bringing in so many opportunities for our kids. And she's a music teacher, but she also does so much with reading. And they are just some hardworking teachers. And so I don't think I introduced her, and I just wanted her to wave her hand.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, thank you very much. Moving on to item 4, we have communicating with the board. Item 4.1, and Jeannie, if you would grab the roster, please. We have something very special. Once again, focusing on students and results, something that the board has over the past 3 years really taken on as a new directive. We have something very exciting tonight. We have seating of a new student board member, and I kind of don't like the representative thing, so I'll just say member all the time. But with that, I would open it up to Ms. Pomus to elaborate.
Sure. Well, in a moment, we will invite our newest student board member to the podium and to be sworn in. But I do want to make a few comments. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you deeply to Nick Karn, Emily Davis, who I don't believe is here, and Mr. Craddock. The three of them worked very collaboratively with us to ensure that students had access to this opportunity, and they put in front of us amazing students. We were very torn by this decision because all of the candidates that we got to interview were phenomenal. In fact, we were all trying to figure out different leadership opportunities for them within the district or within the broader community so that they have a voice representing not just students, but really our community. So thank you to you all for just the amazing partnership and support of this. It is with great pleasure that we get to seat Anna Soto from Sierra, class of 2021. Hopefully I'm getting that correct. Anna, in a moment, if you want to come up, but just a few things. Again, our decision was very, very difficult. But the things that really resonated with Anna was her perspective of students and a broad base of students. Her goal for being on this board was to really ensure that she understands where students are coming from and be the voice of students. And that came through to all of us very much so. In addition, just the care and regard for our district, having not been here her whole life, but also being very, very involved in the short time that she has been in this district, from being a student at Fox Meadow to now being at Sierra. And then also there's just this humility about Anna and this desire for personal growth that really stood out to us. And we want this to be a growth opportunity for our students as well. We learn a lot from them, and we know that we have so much to learn from Anna. So Anna, if you would like to come up, and Mr. Siebert will swear you in.
So I will give you the mic because you can hear me and everyone else will be able to hear you. I, Anna Soto,
I, Anna Soto,
commit to representing the voices and perspectives of all students
commit to representing the voices and perspective of all students
in Harrison School District 2,
in Harrison School District 2,
and do solemnly swear
and do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
all of the duties of a student board representative
all of the duties of a student board representative
as stated in HSD2 Governance Culture,
as stated in HSD2 Governance Culture,
Policy Exhibit 2E.
Policy Exhibit 2E.
At this time, Christine and her team, we would love to do some photo opportunities, particularly with any faculty or family or friends that are here supporting Anna in this very, very momentous day. And I think the board as well, along with Ms. Loesch, Dr. Berhansel, and Mr. Rogerson. And yes, Mr. Craddock and Mr. Karn, you are to be in these pictures. Do you want to come? No, you're supporting.
All right, we're probably going to have the.
We have Mr. Ferguson. Yay.
Well, Mrs. Pomas covered most everything in the introduction, but the perspective that they bring is really amazing. We always have a focus, and maybe having been a student at Harrison and stepping back and seeing it now from an adult perspective, you sort of even lose that student perspective 3 decades later. So to get that, to see there are snakes coming in the back door. Like, I saw that in my classroom, and how that never gets to where it needs to be said. Kids chase it or poke at it, but that it seems kind of silly, but it's that simple. There are things that they bring that it's really amazing. When Yesenia and I first embarked on bringing them to the board, not these two individuals, but their predecessors, there's been a revolution in the purpose and direction for them. So I am very proud of where we're at. I'm very proud of these two up here. They have they've gone through very rigorous interviews, and sometimes it's not comfortable for adults to sit in front of people. So to have them here is just great. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the board. Thank you.
I would like to add, in addition to the staff that's here and district staff, I want to thank Mrs. Pomas for the work she did on this. It was fantastic. It was a lot of work, just doing the interviews and the follow-ups and all of that. Can't thank you enough. It was a lot of work. So thanks. Greatly appreciated, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Anything? Just want to say welcome, and as Steve said, I look forward to the input from both of you, because you do give us a perspective that we don't have. And we've looked at particular policies that may have more direct impact on you, and we'll ask for you to get more specific feedback for those, so that we aren't making decisions that aren't having the right impact that they need on our students. So thank you.
I would really just say we're excited. A lot of people applied, and it was a big process, and we wanted it to be a big process. I think in the past we haven't felt like there's been enough people applying for this position, so it's probably better to have a lot of people apply and know you made it to the top than know that no one applied and you still got to the top. So you did extraordinarily well, and we really appreciate your time. We did a phone interview, so you guys have to hear this. So we had 3 of us had to be on a phone interview with them, which is a whole thing when you don't use technology every day in that way. And we really appreciate that our students got on the phone with us and listened to us all, try not to talk over each other and answer those questions. And that is not an easy thing. It's hard being in front of someone, but at least you can read what's happening and you have some sight. But this new world that we're in, that you do everything and you don't know who's on the other end, it was very challenging. So we really appreciate you dealing with that, because that was, I'm sure, a new thing for you. And it was new for us as a board to do things that way. So it was really exciting too. Right, Kelly?
And a bit challenging.
But we really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I already told you this, but I can't wait to work with you. So congratulations.
Yay.
Do you have anything to say?
You have anything?
I want to thank all of you for this opportunity, and I'm really excited to be a part of this and to be a voice for all of you and for the students. And thank you to all.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, I know Niaja was fantastic about this, and the access to the individuals that you have in this room at not your beck and call necessarily, but certainly you have their ears. Naija would pipe up, and I would see Mr. Craddock just cringe occasionally, like, oh, she said that. I knew she was going to say that, and so, you know, it's not a wish list, but it's a partnership, and it's very exciting to have you on board and to have a full board again. Now I'm very happy to move forward with that.
All right.
So we will get on with the meeting. We have, we're going to skip 4.2 this evening. There's no report. We have item 4.3, a bond update from the Wimber Group. And these are weird links that are.
There's two of them.
What it?
Some issues.
Oh, they're for different schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's changed since I looked at it.
We're mumbling to ourselves. The links to our attachments are different, and we don't have an app picture to touch, so we're all sort of lost. Well, Keith's not because he's a tech guy, but
Yeah, it's not working for me either. So. I think it's.
We'll just listen then.
Yeah, I can.
Here we go.
Actually, they don't have that many times every day.
I will jump in. One of our previous student board members is now the chairman of a board, a Latino advocacy board. She writes letters occasionally, and had said that much of what she learned here gave her the confidence to accept that, and so it's exciting to see that growth years beyond.
Okay, I think we figured out our technical difficulties. Good evening, everyone on the board. My name is Ashley Trinnell, the owner's representative, project manager with Wimber. You've probably seen Matt Wilhelm presented to you I think the last couple times. So just to dig in here, we just wanted to give our monthly update. There's a lot of text up here, but at a high level, I'll just go through the schools that are getting some work done this summer as a part of the bond. Sand Creek, if you've driven by that site, you'll see building actually starting to go up out of the ground, and I have some photos in here that I can share. But the work on the existing school will begin the end of May, as with Otero and Centennial. They will both, those two will also, the contractor will get in and start to do those summer renovations. Furniture has been ordered for all three of these schools, actually. At Sand Creek, we were able to, initially, waiting on some cost estimates to come back, we didn't know if we'd be able to add some additional funds to do some interior painting, but we have used the additional funds from the bond sale to include interior paint in that school. At Otero Elementary, they we'll start to see changes there. There's already some storage trailers on site. Teachers and staff have been actively packing up their belongings, and those are starting to get full of items to prepare for that summer renovation. Over at Centennial, same thing. And at both of these schools, some preliminary investigation has just been taking place on off days and off hours just to prepare for the tight schedule we will face over the summer, but everything is looking favorable to get completed with that work on time.
I'm going to have to jump in real quickly there.
Yep.
Just to mention, I have to give compliments to the staff. They had stripped out their rooms. They're prepared for the bond work. And we get Governor Polis to sign some bills in one of our kindergarten classrooms, and it was empty and blank. So the staff did a great job unpacking much of their belongings, redecorating the room to have a fantastic bill signing with the governor. So I just thought I would inject that Connex trailer for on-site storage. Yes, it was stored and unstored and back again. So continue. Pardon my interruption.
No problem. Harrison High School, there will be no work that occurs there this summer, but it will start next summer and the following. So that will be a 2-summer phased project. We have been meeting over there with a design advisory group, most recently offered some input on the new Learning Commons, formerly known as Library or Media Center. And there is some active investigation also going over there, not visible to you guys, but just so you know that it's happening on the irrigation system, water line, further looking at the pool to see what work is required there, and an ADA compliance kind of a code study continuing to understand what needs to be done over at that school. The first package of schematic design is the first of 3 drawing packages that'll be submitted later this summer. So that will show concepts for potentially how this work gets phased and how much scope it will be. At Carmel Middle School, we are also starting meetings on that one. Nothing this summer, but that work will begin next summer. And there are some other smaller projects that will receive work from bond funds that I've listed there at the bottom. We update this report on the district website, so I'm not going to dig into this, but these numbers are transparent, as is this breakdown per school. This follows what's published in the bond book, also on the website. Incurred cost, you see all that blue. Someday we will meet with you and it will not be blue anymore. That's blue is the money we haven't spent yet, but it will happen. And this is just showing a schedule. Again, this is on the website of just breakdown of which school gets work which summer. These are some photos over at Sand Creek. Some has probably even changed since this was a week old. Walls are going up around the new 6-8 gym, so foundations are in the ground. You'll see that building getting taller here over the course of the next few weeks. I also included just a snapshot of our furniture has been ordered at all 3 of these schools. This is a clip of the Learning Commons, so all 3 followed at the direction of the district some certain zones that we built into the furniture design so that classes can use it as a makerspace component, a literacy corner component, which has the collection of books, and a teaching space for a full class, and also some breakout spaces. So this is a clip of the new Learning Commons for Centennial. This is at Otero. Same basic 4 zones, and this is at Sand Creek. So a lot of new furniture, totally renovating those libraries. And that is all I have for you guys tonight.
Well, thank you. Is there this was all positive. Are there any setbacks, snags, delays? Not that we want to focus on any negative, but tonight is an update. You have unlimited access to the board without reprisal, so you get to mention anything that...
No, not that I have. I mean, it's a tricky time of year. The teachers and staff have done an incredible job packing up their schools. We are actively meeting with district operations, district technology and purchasing just to firm up our plan for move out. So I don't have anything at this time.
Nothing. Well, that's good. Does anybody have any questions for Ashley specific to... It's so exciting to be part of the bond. What a slice of history. It's been nearly 20 years since we've had anything of near this magnitude. And to be involved in it is just great. To have that, to be on the board at this time is with these projects and seeing the learning spaces and the renovation and the innovation that's happening is it's just really great. No other questions?
It's not a question. It's just a comment. While we were at Centennial and talking to some of the staff there, they actually involved some of the students in picking furniture. I thought that was, again, getting students involved with what's going on around them is always a good idea. So that was pretty cool.
They did. They did bring, the Officescapes had brought over some samples, and they would occasionally pull some students in to make sure they were comfortable at the heights of the furniture. So
Yeah, they said they were
did
very
do
excited
that.
about it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5, we have comments from the public. Members of the public who desire to address the board on any topic related to board work are welcome to do so at this time. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes, to appoint a spokesperson if the concern is a group concern, and to supplement verbal presentations with written reports if necessary or desired. Personal attacks will not be allowed. Although the board does not respond to any public comment, we will review the information presented and provide responses as needed. And this evening, we have Giberson staff on the topic of admin absence. So if we have, is there a spokesperson for? Sure, yes, please.
Thank you. All right. I can hold it. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for letting me speak this evening. It's nice to hear all the neat things happening in our district and our community. My name is Juan Mena, and I'm a teacher at Giberson. I've been teaching there for 5 years, and this is the end of my 5th year, and I've been so blessed to be there. But I'm coming before you this evening just because our administrator, Miss Angelina Duran, hasn't been available. I recalled seeing her last Monday, and we haven't had any information with regards to her being sick or some family emergency, and even asking our administrators as well. They're unsure of what's going on. And so we have staff members at my school and even families who are just wondering, where is Ms. Duran? Where is she at? And it's kind of placing us in a place of uncertainty just because you don't know what you don't know. And I was curious if you could maybe provide some insight or if this is the right platform that I could ask. So thank you, guys.
Well, once again, we won't have a directed response today, but that will certainly be discussed from the board, and you will have a response from the board.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Stated yes. Next, we have Catherine Weber. Catherine, if you would approach the mic and if you would state your name and address.
I'm Catherine Weber. I live at 431 North Walnut Street in Colorado Springs.
Good evening.
Hi. Oh, thanks.
She doesn't need a step stool.
The kid's step stool.
Yeah, go for it. Take it with you.
So I was just here to talk about I received a letter of intent to non-renew my contract. And I just wanted to say, I've worked at Sierra for 3 years with a very heavy caseload. I teach English language learners. In the first 2 years, I was rated proficient. And this year, I had to have some emergency surgery and was very sick afterwards. And when I had my first evaluation, that was the condition under which I communicated over and over again to my administrator that I was not doing well. On January 31st, I was put on an improvement plan, and largely based on that evaluation. And on student data, so there were 3 student data things. She said that my ELL data was not good enough for being here for 3 years for the CBMs, but when I got my PI at the end of the year, it shows that I was proficient for that, as well as with the SAT for my English language learners. And the second piece of data was the use of iReady, And from Diagnostic 1 to Diagnostic 2, she said, all my students are still in the red, which means you're within one grade level. And I said, of course they are, because they were starting at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade reading levels. But they averaged 2 years of growth within that, within 18 weeks. And the third piece of data was CFWAs saying that my seniors had dropped. While my juniors grew, my seniors dropped half a point. And that was due to one student whose scores made that drop. And on the next CFWA, my students outperformed. They were the only ones in my school to grow. And on Access, we just received our Access scores, and my kids did awesome. And so there's just this one piece of student engagement, which was the improvement plan. And on March 8th, I was told that they would be non-renewing me, but I was supposed to be given until April 20th to improve. So I've asked why I wasn't given that time. And he told me, our principal says that he told me that that would be, if it was April 20th, that would be his decision. But that is not what I heard in that conversation, and have spoken to several people about. And anyway, I love Sierra. I've put my heart into it, and I have excellent relationships with all my students, every single one of them, and the other staff. And, you know, I'm working on a degree just so that I could stay there. And then I didn't end up having my second evaluation because I ended up having to take a leave of absence due to the emotional trauma of like continually not being heard by my administrators. When they put me on the plan, I said, like, I'm not going to be able to get all of this, because for being an English language teacher, like the amount of work that goes into my lesson planning, like getting all of my lesson plans and PowerPoints and activities to her by Saturday, like I'm usually doing that night by night. And anyway.
Well, this evening, and if you have more, I don't mean to interrupt, the board will be approving the process of non-renewals this evening. Mm-hmm. We, as a policy board, don't use a laundry list of individuals as we go down and make decisions specifically to that. We observe the process, make sure all of the pieces are in place, that we vote to move forward with that. And since I didn't know that you were on that until our communication, so we would,
yes,
because it's a person, we have executive session, and by law I would be allowed to open that up to you to attend a 3-minute portion of that, because you would be part of that that process. So if you would like to have an additional 3 minutes in executive session, you may. I will preface that by saying there's a process of appeals, and if you were to contest and move forward with this, we are the appeals board, and if there is any further specific information to your file that's shared now, it could jeopardize us as objective appeals board at that time. It would be like a jury having information to, from the news or a crime or something prior to it happening. So I extend that to you with the caveat that if there were further specific information that we were to hear in executive session, that it could taint us as an objective appeals board for that. So okay. Your look tells me that you're not clear.
Which means we could not be the final deciding factor. We'd have to find some other way to do it, because we will have been tainted, and we'd have to recuse ourselves from making any further decision if it comes up to us.
Okay.
But by law, I have to offer you that opportunity.
Appeals process. Okay.
If you were to choose to follow that appeal, our appeal, and we would be the final appeal board. The executive session this evening is not the venue for that.
Okay.
Because that's, like I said, that's not what we're deciding on that. But because you're part of that by law, and you can say anything that you would like. I'm not telling you not to share anything, but if there was specific information that was shared, I just want you to be aware of the position that would put us in.
Okay.
Because it's still,
just
something
the-
is still not making sense.
The
How can
letter
I?
just made it sound like I needed to come present myself when I received the letter of non-renewal. It sounded like I had to come present
You're afforded the
whatever I had to
opportunity,
say.
but you don't have to do that.
Okay.
So if you choose to stay at our executive session, there's a portion that we could bring you in
I
for
understand.
if you choose to
Okay.
do so.
Thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That finishes public comment for this evening. We have item 6, superintendent consent agenda. First up, item 6.1, we have the personnel report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I would like to thank our Human Resource Department for a new format. They brought some information. We talk about longitudinal data and all those things, but having those comparisons, year-to-year comparisons, actually brings a lot of information to light. So I appreciate, first of all, Ms. Pomus's request for that. Thank you for bringing that up. And I would thank Human Resources for getting that back to us. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review that report, but it's very enlightening, and I appreciate it. Financial statement, are there any further questions or clarifications anyone has for financial statement? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent consent agenda.
I move to approve the superintendent's consent agenda items as stated.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Orozco, seconded by Mr. Varney. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We have item 7, the board consent agenda. We have item 7.1, approval of the ATU. Is there questions, discussions around? Further comments?
I got to read it finally.
Finally got to-
Being the new guy, and the amount of work that went into that is pretty impressive. It was major revisions.
Well, the presentations,
Yeah.
and we brush over it very quickly here, but at the work session, there's a tremendous amount of discussion, presentation that is brought to us. So it's not that that we just glaze it over. The work, the heavy lifting, was done by the staff. A presentation and very vibrant discussion at the work session around the ATU. We have item 7.2, the approval of minutes from April 2nd, 2019, April 8th, 2019, and April 18th, 2019. Are there any further corrections or
No, but before we get too far, we had requested all of the results of the ATU survey, and we haven't received those yet.
Comments?
Yeah, all the comments.
Oh, the breakdown report?
Just a reminder, because I'll forget again.
Thank you, Ms. Orozco. Yes, that had slipped my mind, and I hadn't paid attention that we had not gotten it, so thank you. Item 7.3, adoption of our OE14 technology report. And it saddens me that Mr. Hitchcock is not here, because he was truly the spear point of the technology policy. It was something that he felt very strongly about, and to see that actually adopted tonight, I'm going to have to text him in a few minutes, because he'd be very happy that we made it. We have item 7.4, a chain.
I have a question on that real quick, just because late to the party as usual. Are we going to get, what's the term I'm looking for? Indicators on that. Is there a timeline on that for when we'll get indicators on it?
We've included a draft of some indicators, but I'll make certain that's in there, okay?
Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay, thank you.
So that should be there. If it's not, I'll get with Norma and make sure she gets it again.
So it would be presented at June's work session for us to vote in June, in
That is
its
correct.
regular meeting?
Is that going to be its regular cycle for reviewing indicators, or will it fall somewhere else in the?
It will fall somewhere else, but we wanted to get the indicators discussed and approved, and then we'll put them into cycle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Varney, for jumping in there. 7.4, change to OE11 policy. That is very minor. It touched on the technology policy. The technology policy encompasses that part. So this is a simple shift to the main policy that we'll be voting on in a minute. We have item 7.5 before us again, corrected this time. There was a date clerical error on the last contract. Again, this has been vigorously discussed at several opportunities, and we've shared a great value to it, and as a board, I believe as a board, believe in it, in their support. So we have a contract to vote on for approval there. So with that, item 7.6.
One quick thing. I would also mention with change in OE11, that also modified the indicators presented because we dropped an entire section. So the vote would impact that as well. Sorry.
Nope, don't be sorry. That's the time to jump in before we vote. Okay, any further discussion on any of the items? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the board consent agenda items as stated.
So moved.
They're all eating candy. Their mouths are all like, so you have to look at who's not chewing.
I just figured I've put a motion out there once, so I was giving
We give the
space
opportunity.
to other people.
I was chewing candy.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Moved by Mrs. Pomas, seconded by Mr. Varney. Any further discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, monitoring board performance. We have our annual work plan. Which has been very full lately. We've had 2 meetings with the governor in 2 weeks. It's actually very exciting to be able to speak to him, welcoming him into our schools. Whether it was not on the annual work plan. I just felt like
Should we add it?
well, it's probably not a routine, an annual event, so.
We can go back to
Maybe
that during
it should be.
legislative
Make that
updates.
happen.
Yeah.
I had a question we probably need to explore more in June. I thought we had spoken of 2 opportunities to be put on here for potential candidates, since there will be an election for the board in November. But as I question the annual work plan, it's not clear that there's going to be 1 or 2. So I think we need to clarify that at some point.
Yeah.
I think when we had our initial discussion, the second one, we had tentatively set a date, but we were going to hold off on it only because we didn't know if how many candidates we would end up having signed up. We could still do it because there's write-in candidates available. So Norma, we could probably put that on here. And
Which date are you referencing?
We still said June would be best, towards the end of June, per our discussion.
And that's the
It's
basic
on
101. This is what it's like to be on the board meeting.
yeah.
And that was the one of question when the calendar came out, because the September date is in there, but the June date is not there. So we just need to make sure we get it clear for the next work session.
We had discussed that we would try to do it on our retreat day.
I know.
Okay.
I remember
So
that.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe it's represented there,
Kinda.
and just not duplicated. I'm making an assumption, though.
There was that discussion. I don't know that we had set aside. We said as we developed the agenda for that retreat that we would
And it would be.
discuss that.
If that happens, it would be at the end of the retreat on that Saturday. Okay.
would you make that little note on there with the retreat? Thank you. Well, we've had groundbreakings and student board member interviews. It's been a very, very busy couple of months on the board, as my fellow members would probably attest to. Sometimes you have to get some heavy work done to lay those foundations so that it carries on further. Are there any further changes to the suggestions anybody has on the annual work plan?
Well, I think just related, it might be good just to have in here a cadence for the student board. But I think we had a suggestion from Dr. Burhansel to start the process earlier, correct? So we probably need to revisit that and in terms of discussion around getting the cadence of when we fill the next year's seat. Do you all recall that discussion? Am I remembering this accurately?
At sometime at the end of the school year, because the senior in place checks out sometime around, what, March?
I don't know, Julie. When are you going to check out? I'm joking. But can you just refresh our memory, Dr. Burhansel, on what your recommendation was?
January or February, because the last semester of senior year is a blur and very busy for them, and so helping transition the new board person to the board.
Thank you.
June work session.
June work session?
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. And solidify those dates on our annual plan. All right. Or at least a general date.
June, that'll be your agenda, Ms. Pugh.
Okay, got it.
Thanks.
I believe it is. Yep, June, Vice President. Okay, any further discussion? Part of what we were talking about is the board members, there'll be this November's elections, 2 board seats up for election. And so we start that process to inform candidates and create forums to let them know what it is we do, how we function, some of the basic requirements. So we have some open invitation meetings to the public for those.
And I think I would just chime in and say everyone in this room should really be encouraging someone to take a look at that, as we govern you in a great many ways. And so if you know someone or someone that is amazing and can fill a role, then you should really encourage them to step forward and learn more about being a board member and going through this next election, as we have 2 seats coming up.
You didn't mention that you felt lied to when that was presented to you.
I felt lied to when someone told me. I'm just going to stare at Mr. Longmire real quick. I was lied to. They said it was easy, which I guess it could be if I only showed up to meetings. It's not easy, I guess, if you take education seriously in the district. But that being said, we really need good representation, and we really need people running for these positions. And yes, it's voluntary, which makes it really hard to volunteer your time and put all your passion and your heart into something. But it's an elected position and to be taken seriously. And if you appreciate or don't appreciate what we do, then it's a great time for you to make sure you're talking to your peers and advocating for these spots.
Governor Polis was a board member, and he was on the State Board of Education and then moved up. He does a very good job of recognizing the boards. I was somewhat humbled by his connectivity to the board in every organization. He really saw us over the representatives and state senators were there. He brushed by them and made a point to engage with the board. So, you know, ideological things aside, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him for that. And I found it very interesting that he did that. That was, I guess, under legislative updates.
I think they both were.
So we'll just catch that part. Okay. Skipping to item 8.2, legislative updates. We were just talking about the governor signing bills in Centennial. I don't see Ms. Noyes here this evening, but in one of her kindergarten classrooms. I can't say the bills. There were 4 that the governor signed into Colorado law in our kindergarten, elementary classroom. I thought that was pretty awesome.
He signed a concurrent enrollment bill, which furthers our concurrent enrollment. He signed a bill in regards to criminal justice reform, which directly reflects the money and the funding coming into our school district. And he signed
The full day
Head
kindy.
injuries?
say that
Head
again.
injuries?
Yeah, he signed in the head injuries, and basically that's a board that can cover not just traumatic brain injuries, but all brain injuries. And then his last one was,
Hey, kindy.
no, that's not what he signed in front of us. He signed, what was the last one? Yes. Child care tax
The
credit
tax credit, yes.
for single parent families. So, yeah. They were all relative to our school district.
Any other legislative updates? Anything happening in that? No? Okay. 9, matters reserved for board action
Has been removed.
has been removed. So we didn't relabel everything, item 9, 10 to down. So at this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Motion?
So I would, I'll go ahead and read it. I move that the Board of Education convene to executive session to discuss personnel matters as authorized in Colorado Revised Statutes pursuant to CRS 24-6402 4F. Initially,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Initially attending will be Steve Siebert, Linda Pugh, Jeannie Orozco, Kelly Pomas, Keith Varney, COOs, Mr. Rogerson and Dr. Burhansel, and Dr. Claudio. We do not have Kelly Dude, our attorney, present with us this evening. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It is 7:17. We will adjourn into executive session. Reconvening in regular session after 22 minutes of executive session at 7:48. All board members are still present. So I would entertain a motion to accept the recommended decision of Human Resources with respect to the non-renewal of licensed personnel, as well as the contract not renewed for administrators as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Mrs. Pomas. Is there any further discussion or clarification? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business that is before the board this evening? With no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, second.
Moved by Mrs. Pugh, seconded by Mrs. Pomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I will throw the gavel at. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.